Good morning. It's 9 o'clock. We'd like to open with the pledge and prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gracious Lord, as we come before you this day, we ask you to be with us and bless and guide us as we conduct the affairs of the county, that the decisions we make would be good for everybody. And we just ask you to be with guests who travel through our community to keep them safe, and especially our employees, the Sheriff's Department, Highway Department, people who are out on the streets working, that you would especially be with them and guide and direct them and keep them safe as well. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen. Morning, Brad. Brad's with us.
Good morning. Good morning.
Partially. There you
Good
go.
morning.
Now you're in focus, Brad. I'd like to call the meeting to order and entertain motion for the signing of the claims and minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, we need to identify.
Okay. Yeah. Kerry Groener, aye.
Brad Jackson, aye.
Bob Conley, aye. Okay, first on the agenda is a Veteran of the Month. Our Veterans Service Officer, Daryl McDowell.
Good morning. Good morning to all.
Good morning.
Oh, I get the opportunity again to recognize one of our military veterans' service to our nation. But this story is a little different from the ones that I normally tell here. This is one that not only talks about what Kosciuszko County brings to keep our folks staying and living and prospering here, but also what pulls them to us to remain or become part of our population in Kosciuszko County through our employment opportunities, recreation, and high-level education, just to mention a few. Our veteran, Carl Ernest Wise, Jr., was born in Fayette County, Pennsylvania, and is one of two children. He graduated from Uniontown High School in Fayette County. In 1960, after high school, he attended Lancaster Bible College in Pennsylvania before being drafted to the United States Air Force in February of 1964. He was trained to be a fire and rescue airman. In May of '66, he was deployed to Vietnam and stationed with the 677 Civil Engineering Squadron in Pleiku, Vietnam. He left Vietnam in June of '67 and was assigned to England Air Force Base in Alexandria, Louisiana, for about 8 months until his discharge. He served 4 years in the United States Air Force and was honorably discharged in February of '68 with the rank of Staff Sergeant. During his service, he received the Vietnam Service Medal, the Vietnam Campaign Medal, and the Air Force Good Conduct Medal. After proudly serving his country, Carl returned to Pennsylvania to work as an insurance salesman for an insurance company based out of Baltimore, Maryland. After almost a decade of encouragement from his son and daughter-in-law, Carl and Ruth finally made the move to Warsaw in 2004. He married Ruth in 1964 and will enjoy their 59th wedding anniversary this July. He feels that this was made possible through their loving care of each other and taking care of one another along the way. They have one child and one grandchild. Today, Carl and Ruth continue to live in Winona Lake in Indiana. Please, large welcome for our Veteran of the Month, Carl. Okay, with that, Kosciuszko County awards the Veteran of the Month to Carl Ernest. Good call. Ernest Wise, Jr., in recognition for his outstanding contribution to the mission of serving our people of the United States and the residents of Kosciuszko County and honorable service as a member of the United States Air Force. Thank you for your service.
Proud to serve my country. It's a difficult time in this country, and regardless of that, I'm still proud to serve my country, and I would do it again. I really appreciate Kosciuszko County. You folks really go out and take really good care of your veterans, and I just do that to glory to God, and thank you.
Okay, we'd like to go back and entertain a motion for the signing of the claims.
Make a motion.
Second.
Kerry Groener, aye.
Brad Jackson, aye.
Bob Conley, aye. A little housekeeping, bookkeeping work there. Better than that, okay. Next, we have the presentation of the Eagle Scout presentation to Dylan Van Ness from Boy Scout Troop 726, North Webster, Indiana. I'd like to read this to you. Dylan, are you ready? Okay. Congratulations, Dylan. Becoming an Eagle Scout is an outstanding achievement. This honor demonstrates you are a hardworking young man and of good character. You should be proud of this accomplishment. Over the course of your years in scouting, you have learned many qualities that have helped you shape into your young, strong leader and a helpful citizen to your community. Our hope for your future is that you continue to learn and grow and lead with integrity. The Scout Oath and the Scout Law provide guidelines for you to become a strong, confident adult. The knowledge and attitude you develop as a Scout will be with you the rest of your life. Congratulations from the Kosciuszko County Commissioners, Brad Jackson, Bob Conley, and Kerry Groeninger. If you want to come forward, we have a plaque for you.
How about one without and one with?
Oh, okay.
You want me first?
Are you okay with this appearing in newspapers and stuff?
Kosciuszko County Commissioner, be it known that on this 28th day of March 2023, we, the Kosciuszko County Commission, do hereby acknowledge Dylan Van Ness as an outstanding citizen of Kosciuszko County and an exemplary Boy Scout. His achievement in earning Eagle Scout rank is an example of future Scouts of stellar performance and dedication to his troop and his leadership in the Boy Scouts of America.
Real quick, if you don't mind, I know this wasn't on the agenda. I got the honor of being at the ceremony last week for Dylan. It's interesting, I found out that of all the scouts across the nation, 5% or less what the chief is, so it's pretty incredible. Something else, 21 merit badges is what the minimum was. But Dylan couldn't stop there, he kept going, he did 26, right? So it's overachieved. And they start talking about, and I explained to them, as I was listening to the ceremony, integrity, bravery, honor, and all these things are exactly the types of things that I'm looking for when I try to hire employees for the department, right? So I told Dylan, I'm not sure what his plans are in the future, but certainly come see me if the law enforcement is so what an achievement. So I just want to congratulate you.
Dylan's name joins the ranks of some pretty prestigious people in our world that have achieved Eagle Scout status. One of them is Gerald Ford, former president of the United States, was an Eagle Scout. So that's quite impressive. Thank you again. Tippecanoe Chapman Regional Sewer District. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Steve Henshin, engineer with Jones Petrie Rufinski. We're the engineers for the Tippecanoe and Chapman Regional Sewer District. We have before you today an application for inclusion of territory in the Tippecanoe and Chapman Lakes Regional Sewer District. The best figure, I think, if you go to the last page of our document, which I believe you have in your board packets, we're showing the location of these two parcels along Forest Glen Avenue, and their address 3675 and 3663. A little bit of the backstory on these. These two property owners have come forward requesting to be included in the district, even though that they're brand new builds that were permitted to have an on-site septic system. They've currently installed only holding tanks. They never went forward with the absorption fields. They had an understanding, because they have properties across the road that are on the lakefront, that they were also, their properties here were in the district. They actually were not included. The district territory was basically down Forest Glen Avenue there. In fact, one of the property owners even had a letter from the district from like 2018 saying, yes, your properties are in the district. Because of that, the district feels obligated to bring those properties in, and they'll bring them into the project without additional upfront cost of these property owners because of the timing of when they were originally told that they were part of the district. So the district's engineering committee and the full board fully supports this request for inclusion of territory. And the next step, as you know, is that we come to the commissioners, who have to formally do the sign off on the petition for us then to accept them into our territory.
Okay, very good.
I'd make a motion to approve the acceptance of these two additional properties into the Tippy Chapman Sewer District.
I would second that motion.
Okay, sign your name to your motions, please.
Yeah, Kerry Groninger, and then I'd make, the motion I made was that we would approve these two properties being accepted.
Okay, Brad Jackson, aye.
Bob Conley, aye. Okay, very good.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. This is exactly what we kind of hoped would happen, that people would come along and see the need and connect, so.
Yes, in fact, we'll probably be back here in about 4 weeks or so with, there's at least two others that we are aware of on County Road 300 on the west side
Okay.
that have requested to be brought in as well.
Very good, thank you.
Tag team here. Good to see you. Ken Jones from JPR. I'm back to see you once more relative to the East Webster Lake neighborhood. You might remember that there's 182 homes. Property owners have been aggressively advancing their project for probably 4 or 5 years now. We did, as requested by the commissioners, go back to the district board at their last meeting and ask them to propose and pass a motion that they would be in support of this. There was only there was a good discussion. There was a couple things that the board was, that Board of Trustees were concerned about. Number one would be the initial cost, which I've spoken to you about in the past, to process a preliminary engineering report, a pre-qualifying engineering report to submit for funding. And then also they were concerned that if for some reason the project didn't get funded, then they would want to have some kind of backdoor, so to speak, on this project. We don't anticipate that happening. That would be a pretty rare occurrence. However, that was a condition that they passed in their motion. So I think, I'm not really, I can't recall exactly what the wording of the motion was, but they would want to reserve the, my understanding is that they wanted to reserve their full intake on these particular properties contingent upon funding. So again, we haven't processed a project in the last 10 or 15 years that wasn't funded in some way. The key to this will be making sure that we process the project and stay in touch with the funding agencies to the extent that we can deliver a reasonable rate. So, we are asking you to approve this application for inclusion, and then it'll go back for a final decision at the TIPI board, and we'll go forward with the project. The only other thing I'd like you to consider is, again, is we had talked to legal representative for the Tippy Chapman Group, their fiscal advisor, and they have given us quotations for providing their services to advance the preliminary engineering report to funding application. We'll also need to complete an environmental study. That would include historic, archaeologic, and wetlands. And the total of those numbers, we're looking for about $40,000. And we understand that we would have to, if you choose to approve that, we would go next to the council to make the same request. So JPR will be holding our invoices until the project is funded. So we feel we have a good commitment to that property, to those property owners. They've worked hard. So we feel that's the least we can do. So $40,000 ought to get it done. So,
Okay, and that's in conjunction with what you've done in the past for that, that's rolled over into the
Yep.
cost, and that
Yep.
goes back to the county then?
right, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So,
Ed, I'll just ask you real quickly, off-site here, do you understand what's going on? Ed Ormsby, are you there?
Sorry, Bob, I was on mute. I do understand what is going on, and I am one of the trustees actually on that Tippy Chapman Sewer District. And as Ken was saying, it'll go back to the district. And the district is in support of the addition of these homes. They just don't want to take on the district until we know that we have adequate funding. And in the meantime, we don't want to incur any liability for IDEM or anything like that. But the board was fully in support of the commissioners signing this petition that Ken has for the district then to move forward with the project and see if we can make this a go.
Very good. Thank you for your input. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Ken, just maybe clarify, I want to make sure I totally understand the funding side of it. So that 40K that you would be needing, that would cover what, legal fees and engineering that would need to get the initial study done to be able to get the funding source identified?
actually, up to but not including engineering, we'll withhold our invoices until the project has permanent funding,
Okay,
or even temporary funding as the project proceeds. But that will cover legal, fiscal. We'll need a rate advisor to advise the trustees at the district, and then also the necessary environmental studies that are required to make a full submittal to either the State Revolving Loan Fund or the USDA, so the project can proceed to funding. So,
and that would be something that the county would need to fund for this project to be able to move forward, as
Yes.
well as, now, is that something that is repaid after the funding source is identified?
yes,
what I
and
said earlier.
typically when the project goes to final funding, where they're closed on the project and they've either completed the project, or as they close on funding, that money can be returned to the county.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good.
So I'd make a motion to accept this property into the territory, with those restrictions that Tippy Chapman had. Because, I mean, this is something that, although $40,000 is still additional money, it's considerably less than having to establish a whole nother sewer district for this area. So I do appreciate the Tippy Chapman being willing to take a look at this and see if they can't make it work, because it's one of those things, I think there's some economy of scale if we can continue to establish these districts, that they're not individual, that they're all kind of working together, so.
Okay.
I would agree with what Kerry said. I really appreciate the Tippy Chapman board being willing to do this. I know this has been a couple years in the making. The people at on Webster have really worked hard to get this done. So that's appreciated. And Webster's been half sewered for decades now and finally finishing it up. So it's a good thing.
Okay. Is that a motion?
Yeah, I'd make a motion to approve.
And that includes the 40,000 too, Kerry?
Yeah, that includes the 40, well, I mean, that's going to be up to the council to
Right, but recommending to the council?
recommend to the council for approval.
Okay, I would second that.
Kerry Groninger, aye.
Brad Jackson, aye.
Bob Conley, aye.
Thank you
Very
so
good.
much.
You're quite
Thank you for
welcome.
your continued partnership.
Keep up the good work.
You bet.
Okay, Sheriff Chris McCann. Sheriff Jim Smith.
Good morning.
Yes, it is.
Have two grant proposals to bring before you for approval to apply. The first is the Comprehensive Hoosier Highways Injury Reduction Program, which is through the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute. It's a program that we've participated in better than the last 2 decades. It has the drunk driving patrols, it has the aggressive driving patrols, has your click it or ticket, your seatbelt patrols, also encompasses SAVE, which is your school bus stop arm patrols that we do. This grant basically provides the funding for the officers to actually be out on the street doing those patrols
Very good.
during the blitz periods. It's broke up into several blitzes throughout the year. We would, our share of the partnership money, I mean, it encompasses Winona Lake, Warsaw, all the other small towns, is $20,500, and it would be something that would be able to start to participate in April if it would be approved.
Okay. Very good.
I'd like to make Kerry Groninger, I'd like to make a motion to approve this grant.
Second?
Brad Jackson.
I seconded it.
Okay, go ahead and identify yourself.
Brad Jackson, second.
Bob Conley, aye. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Kerry
We'll get it.
Groninger, aye.
Brad Jackson, aye.
Bob Conley, aye. Thank you. Okay, your next one.
The second proposal is the Kosciuszko County Integrated Reentry and Correctional Support, or IRACS, funding initiative. It's actually an initiative that comes through the governor's office. They started pilot programs that are actually in place now. We put a committee together. We actually went and visited one of these pilot sites to see if it's something that's feasible for us to participate in. That went well.
Is that down at Dearborn, or?
It was at Dearborn County. That visit went well. We liked what we seen. We liked the model that they're using. We believe it is something that we can implement here in our correctional facility. It encompasses a certified peer recovery coach and a reentry coordinator. And what that does is the population in our jail would actually, outside of JCAP, this would be for our full population in our jail, would have access to these peer recovery coaches to aid in one-on-one counseling, group counseling, helping them get the recovery assistance that they need to be able to take that next step into recovery. The coordinator position would help them find the services out in the community, the housing, those same services, the one-on-one recovery, the group recovery, those things. Also allows for the creation of a community recovery hub, which all those activities outside of the jail would be taking place in that location. As far as the county's part, our part of it, what we would be doing is actually managing the individuals that would be coming into the facility. As far as the individuals themselves, the idea of the grant is for them to eventually be able to bill through the Department of Health. It's going to be a state, hopefully funded thing after that point.
Okay.
The grant itself is for a max of $500,000. What we would actually be allotted through that, we wouldn't know until actually go through the grant process itself.
Okay, good.
Is there any match by the county on that?
It is not a matching grant. The way I understand it, we would get an advance. There would be a certain amount of the allotted money that we would get up front to help with setting all these things up. And then at a certain point, it would turn into a reimbursement grant. And of course, then we'd have to reapply for next year. And then if it works like some of the others that we've seen, eventually they're going to want to migrate it towards that model to where it actually turns to that state funding.
Okay.
All that is, like I said, we would be the second phase of that. They have their pilot program out now. We would enter into their second phase around, they're still gathering the statistics, things like that. Their initial summary is that it is successful.
So that $500,000 maximum grant award, is that based upon like a number of jail population, or how do they decide what that funding?
I think once they do their initial assessment of what they believe we would need in our facility to make that happen, it would probably be determined off of what we need to do to get that community hub set up, and then how many of those peer recovery coaches we'd actually need to service our population in the jail.
Right.
Those are the components that would affect our side of it.
Okay.
And it's a collaboration. It's a collaboration between the sheriff's department, the prosecutor's office, the courts, community corrections, work release, probation, and then you go to the other side where you're going to have all your recovery partners that are out in the community that we meet with at KCODE that do all the services like light that comes into the jail. It's going to be a project that brings all those things together. Everybody will be working together to try to make those transitions outside of our correctional facility. One of the things that we're hoping that comes out of it is a reduction of our jail population. That's one of the things that Dearborn County has been able to attest to us, that they have seen fewer instances in their jail of violence, of suicide, of damages, and the reduction of the jail population. And we would, work hard to move our facility in that same direction.
Right.
If I could add on too, just to piggyback on Chris too, in addition to what Lissy just said, the repeat offenders is lessening, according to the sheriff down there in Dearborn County. So that really spoke to me. When I got in law enforcement, it was preached to us that 90% of the crimes committed by 10% of the people, you're dealing with a lot of the same offenders.
Sure, all the time.
With this program, they're finding that, and it's only been up and running for 8 or 9 months down in Dearborn County, but they've quickly been able to identify that they're seeing less of the people coming back that they normally would have returned.
Sure.
So that spoke to us as we were making our visit, so.
To make a change in these people's lives takes a single step, and I think I applaud your doing that. We'll just have to wait and see. We'll put all we can into it and do what's necessary, and bottom line is, I think everybody will be better off for it, so thank you, appreciate that. I entertain a motion for the second grant.
Brad, do you want to hit that?
Sure, I'll make that motion. One thing I would ask, I'm assuming that if the funding dries up, that the county, it wouldn't be something we'd be on the hook for, as a county.
We're not
That
adding employees. They would be billing their services. The recovery coaches would be billing their services, and so would the reentry coordinator. As far as the facilities go, that is going to be ran through that hub, and the idea of that hub is to be able to do the billing through the Department of Health. What I see what I see for our department in this, as far as if you want to call it a match, is going to be the work that's involved in it. I mean, we're going to put forward the work to make sure it happens, to vet the people that we're having coming into the facility, to make sure that we're doing it in a safe way. As far as the monetary end of it, yes, we're going to have to find space for it. Yes, I mean, we're going to have to allocate manpower to assist this to happen. But I have not been asked for any matching numbers or anything like that as far as the funding itself goes. Everything that has been presented to us is that it eventually ends up back at the state. It's not an addition of employees or equipment or anything like that. It's actually the services that these individuals that are going to be providing to the jail itself.
Okay.
Okay. I applaud you guys for doing that. I think that's awesome. So yeah, I stand by my motion then, Karen.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Kerry Groiner, aye.
Brad Jackson, aye.
Bob Conley, aye. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Keep up the good work, gentlemen.
Just appreciate you guys looking at all ways we can, give us more tools in our toolbox to help jail population, and really give these individuals an opportunity to change their lives. So appreciate your hard work.
County Assessor Gail Chapman.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I received the pictometry MACOG agreement for the 2023-2024 flight from James Turnwald. And they will, once we sign the agreement and get it back to them, they will begin our flight for 2023. They will fly all 4 counties. Our county, Marshall, Wabash, and Elkhart are all part of this, and we share the expense for it. So our total part in this is $67,339. We split that in half, and we budget half of that for 2023 and the other half for 2024.
Very good. Okay, you need a motion for that?
I do.
Okay.
I'll make Kerry Groiner, I make a motion for that. I know this is something we've been working with MACOG for several years on, and it's drastically reduced the cost of this GIS flight for the county. So I think they're able to pool all those together and really reduce the cost on that. I mean, it's a significant savings to the county, so it's a great thing, so.
Yeah, and it's our only tool that we have to accomplish our cyclical reassessment every year. So it's been a great thing for us.
Okay. We've got a motion. Is there a second?
I would second that.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Kerry Groiner, aye.
Brad Jackson, aye.
Bob Conley, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Keep up the good work. Bob Weaver, Health Department. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Robert.
Morning. Every fall of the year, I make application for our local health maintenance grant, which we've done for, well over 30 years. And we were awarded this grant again this year. The money derived in this grant is from the state tobacco tax. So there's a line item in this for vehicle replacement. And we were approved for the grant this year. And council has approved the budget, the local health maintenance budget for 2023. And I'm just here to ask permission from the commissioners to proceed with that. We've decided that this year we would like to replace a vehicle.
Okay.
We
And that's-
understand prices are going to get a lot higher in the next several years, and I don't want to raise my amount that I've always had in there for vehicle replacement, and
Okay.
we still are getting some good government funding from the dealers to do this.
Okay, that's through the government purchasing program.
Yes,
And, okay, so you're trading in one vehicle for a newer vehicle to
Yeah,
get you
yeah.
on, you're just moving on down the road as you have in the past?
yes, we're not
Okay.
adding a vehicle, we're replacing one.
Yes, okay. Very good. You have a,
Brad, you want this one?
Sure. Bob, I know we talked about this. Remind me what year the one you're getting rid of it is? The one you're trading?
2021.
Okay.
I know it's not old. It has, and doesn't have a lot of miles on it. It's got 50,000. It's out of warranty. And by next year, I'm not sure I'd be able to, with what I have in the budget, to trade it. But I can do it this year.
Either of you two have any thoughts on that?
What's the dollar amount for the trade?
I've got two estimates, or two trading values. One is 21,000 and one is 15,000.
Okay.
We'd like to go with the 15, obviously.
Okay. And you've got that in your budget from those
It's in the grant.
tobacco tax fund?
It's in the grant budget.
Okay.
That's big in my mind. If we're going to upgrade and keep the good equipment and you've got it budgeted, that makes it an okay with me, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the trade up for the $15,000 difference on the dealer on the vehicle. It's Kerry Griner.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Kerry Griner, aye.
Brad Jackson, aye.
Bob Conley, aye. Very good. Is that all you have for us today?
Yes,
Thank you. Appreciate the good work you're doing. Okay, we'll go to Matt Standy and area plan.
Good morning. We have a couple things for you this morning. First thing on the agenda we have is an ordinance amendment. So we're always looking at the zoning ordinance, what's working, what's not, areas that we may need to adjust or tweak. With this one, we're bringing in an ordinance amendment that deals with accessory structures for ag purposes. And these are specifically what I call animal shelters, movable animal shelters that will be put on the fields and may be moved around in those locations because of feeding, because of use, whatever the case may be. Typically in the past, we'd always required if it was moved, they'd have to come in and get a new permit. Obviously, that's not as practical as the intent of the ordinance. So with this amendment, what we've done through this is look at, in agriculturally zoned districts, shelters that are being used for livestock up to 400 square foot in size can come in, get one permit, designate a specific area that those buildings will be relocated in within that district, and we'll permit them one time. Now, if they need to be replaced, at that point, they'd come back, go through the same process. But rather than have them come in and get a permit each time they move them within that field or within a specific zone, it doesn't make sense. And I think that's something we've seen as an evolution through the ordinance. So this one, as we usually try to, gets less restrictive.
Okay. Matt, I know we've talked a little bit about this one from a perspective on the actual, I think there's some wording at the end of it has to do with kind of the maintenance of that structure and that stuff. I guess, is that defined on what's considered maintenance versus what's, reconstruction or renovation? I guess I'm just trying to make sure that if somebody wants to do, it needs a roof or it needs some new siding or whatever else, that's not something they really need a permit for, because we don't require that of homes.
Right, yeah. So the same aspect would apply as it would for a home. If they're re-roofing it, roof blows off, they have to put the new roof back on, not changing the structure itself, have to re-side it as it's weathered.
Right.
Yeah, those would be exempt as maintenance aspects.
Okay.
Tear it all the way down and rebuild, or pretty substantial rebuild, then
Right.
we'd have to look at
Which
it.
most of these shelters are on skids that are able to be pulled around anyhow. so-
Exactly, and that's what their purpose is when they put them out there.
Right, so.
Purposes to change them depend on the weather, so their animals are sheltered from the weather and that type
That
of
comes
thing.
into play too.
Another, a big part of this whole thing, evolution to this point, I think has been violations and fines that go with those violations. Is there anything addressed in the ordinance with waiving those fines?
Currently, we have no open violations on ones like that. So, yeah, from here on, As long as it meets that standard, we wouldn't have a violation. They just get their standard permit and permit fee.
Okay. So that's all, the fine aspect has all been taken care of.
Our goal through this is to try to avoid those violations that were occurring, because whether they just didn't realize it, or, hey, it just had to do it because of the weather changing without notice, or whatever the case may have been.
Matt, I applaud you for doing this. I like anytime we can to, I mean, it still accounts for what we need to, but it's making it more user friendly, and that's what it's all about. So I appreciate that. You want a motion, Bob?
Well, I think, yes, if you'd want to go ahead and we can discuss it on the second.
Okay. I'll make the motion that we approve this.
Yep. Kerry Groiner, second.
Okay. I think these shelters, I've seen them out through the county, and I know the people are using them, and their whole intent and purpose is animal husbandry and keeping their animals, livestock safe, providing a safe place for them to feed.
Right.
I think that's a lot like fishing license. I think if our great-grandfather knew we were paying the government to go fishing, they'd be another tea party. And I think this is the same way. When you're out on the farm and you're raising livestock, it's simple, common sense to provide shelter for your livestock. And to have government come in and fine you for moving it, or not asking the government to put it in a certain location in a field where you think it needs, I think this is way past due. So I call the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Kerry Groiner, aye.
Brad Jackson, aye.
Bob Conley, aye. Thank you.
All right, next one we have for you, we've got a couple rezonings, and the first one we have is for Jackson. And
Michael Jackson.
so for this is case 2023-4, and this is for Michael Jackson. We are over in Atwood, and right before you get into Atwood, as you head west on the south side, Jackson Heights sits there. That's a subdivision that's been developed in the past. Part of that area, looking at finishing off at the very southern end, the ground is zoned agricultural. So with the intent of trying to finish this off as a finalizing the plat, they have to get that ground rezoned to residential to make it work. And we're looking at a 3.15 acre parcel. So it's actually a split parcel, parts residential, parts ag. So this will finalize it. Was passed on to you with a favorable recommendation to rezone.
Okay. Anyone here to speak in favor of this?
I'm just wanting to build a house back there at some point, and the house kind of lays on both of the plats. Oh, Mike Jackson. And the house lays on both the partials. One of it's residential, one of it's ag. So I'd like to change the other one so I can finish
Great.
up the house.
Very good.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anybody here to speak in opposition to? Hearing none, we'll close to the public.
Make a motion to approve. Kerry Groiner.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye, Kerry Groiner.
Brad Jackson, aye.
Bob Conley, aye. Done deal. You're quite welcome.
All right, next we have another rezoning for you, and this is for Randall Jessup. And we are up in Van Buren Township. And we are just to the south and east of Wabi Lake on Mock Road. This is a 9.4 acre tract, currently zoned agricultural. You'll see the zoning on the map there, unshaded to ag. You've got some residential up to the northwest. And what they're looking at doing with this is rezoning to residential for the purpose of eventually coming in and looking at subdividing the parcel. Recommendation was to rezone unanimously.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone here to speak in favor of this? Good morning.
Thank you. I'm Jack Birch. The tract is only a little over 9 acres, and a fairly significant part of it's wooded. We've been working with Matt to try and determine the best way to handle this. My client would like to, has no reason, or has no use for that entire tract, would like to split off part of it and sell and allow another house to be built. Obviously, we can't commit to a specific plat but I can tell you that the intention at this point is just to split it into 2 lots. I think, and when I say we've been working with Matt, initially we thought we might be able to convince some adjacent property owners maybe to recombine their tracts. So we didn't meet the split offs. We couldn't do that. So we are at the max split off. And so that's why we're in here. The planning staff suggested residential would be what they would rather have. We've got residential nearby. And from an ag standpoint, I mean, I'm not a farmer, but I think that's a very small area, and especially with the woods in there and the house, unlikely that any substantial agricultural use would be made of that particular tract. So we'd ask that you rezone it residential.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your input. Anyone here to speak in opposition to?
Mr. Hoover, my husband and I, Tony Hoover, and I own the property adjacent to the west and to the south. It is agricultural, it's wooded. We don't have any issue with the house being built if it's only split into 2, but if it's subplotted, like subdivided, we're concerned that there'll be houses and sublots close to us. We live in the country for a reason. We live in the woods, and our grandchildren use the woods. We have hunts. We have people that hunt in our woods. And it's just, we just don't want a trailer park next to us.
I understand.
My husband and I did write a letter and sign a letter
Okay.
against it.
Is that in your
something you
file,
want?
Matt?
I have it right here.
Okay. So that letter's not on file. Now it is.
I don't know, this is the first time I've ever done this. I have a couple copies that are signed, if you would like one. And I didn't know if the lawyer needed one. I mean, we're not against, Randy is our cousin, so we're not against Randy building the house.
Okay.
Oh,
Very
here, I have one more if you'd like one, Mr.
He
Thornier.
can, I'll look at it when he's done. Thank you.
We're just worried about the other parts, because I know what he wanted was, can I come up there?
Yes, please.
When I went to the area planning, and I missed the meeting, I thought it was March 8th and it was March 1st.
That's fine.
So
You went
I
to area
apologize.
plan department. Go ahead.
But this is what the area that we have looks like. It's all wooded, it's marshed, and we own this part. This is Randy's part right here.
Okay.
We own this, and this.
Okay.
So we own all the south, all the west, and there's our houses right here.
Okay.
This is all Camp Mac. There's one house here, and I don't believe it's residential, I believe it's agricultural. This is all agricultural, this is agricultural. And our house, his property line comes right to our house. And when we first built our house in 1987, the surveyor did not put the line where we thought the line was, and it wasn't caught until Randy bought this house. And so the line was actually closer to our house than what we expected it to be. They had to correct it with the survey, and there was a line left out on the description. So we're a little, and it's still in plenty of space, property lines and stuff.
Okay, how close is your property to the line? Your house to the property line?
It's fair enough away.
6 feet or 60?
Oh, 50 feet?
You-
60? I don't know, it's,
Okay,
how many feet?
very good.
It'd be it's not right next to it.
Right.
It's
Okay.
probably 100 feet, maybe, or something.
Okay, very good.
It would be on the east side.
Okay. Is that a new home or? Oh,
1987.
Okay.
1987.
As before the area plan, wasn't it?
Right.
Just
And the
after-
farm-
just
This
after.
was all original farm.
Okay.
Hoover Farm, this whole
Okay,
was Hoover Farm, and it's been split so many times that we can't split it anymore.
okay,
So that's why I believe he was going residential, but
okay, very good.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Bob,
Appreciate your input. Thank
If
you.
I could add, because I don't think this was something the Plan Commission saw, but Ms. Hoover, did they approach you about maybe combining some of that property?
We had talked about that.
Okay.
But at this point,
Okay,
we just wanted to leave because we have grandkids and.
Leave it the way
you
it
know,
is.
kids and
Sure.
grandkids. We didn't know what's probably going to happen with it now. If we would, then he could separate if we would combine.
right, then he wouldn't even need to rezone, so that would take away that fear or question. So I just want to make sure that was clear too, but, yeah.
We had talked about that. I went to the place over there.
Sure.
The area place. I don't know what
Area
it's
plan,
called.
okay.
And we looked at different ways.
Sure.
That could be done.
Okay, very good.
So it's, I'm just trying to concern against my side.
Yeah. You're trying to guard against encroachment, and we understand that. Go ahead.
Thank you. Jack Birch back again. I'm a little bit frustrated. This Hoover has the ability to control exactly what we're asking to do. There is a plating process for some control on the nature of the plat that comes in. If we presented something that was totally inappropriate for the area, we have to deal with Plan Commission regulations. I mean, it's sort of, you know, I got my cake and eat it too. Ms. Hoover, we approached her about combining the lots so that we could only split it off once, and it would take care of that issue. We're representing, and my client doesn't intend to move, and that is his intention, but we're sort of in a box. If you know, they've been able to split it off, but we're not able to, but they control whether we are or not, but don't want us to go through the process to allow that. So we think it's appropriate, and the Plan Commission has reviewed it and thinks it's appropriate, so we would ask that you approve the rezoning to residential, and we'll
Okay.
come back in with an appropriate plat.
Very
Thank you.
good.
Jack, okay. Hey, Jack, one simple solution, we as commissioners can't request this, but Randy, your client, could offer up to put a restriction on where there'd only be one, sell off or one additional home built. That sounds like that would solve all the problems.
I
So
don't.
if that's his intention, that shouldn't be a problem.
I don't disagree with you. I have not talked to my client about that to make that commitment. I think he would definitely be willing to do that. I also think that we can make certain commitments with respect to the plat process. Frankly, I'll go out on a limb and make the commitment that it's only a one-lot split at this point. And if I'm wrong, we'll come back in and have to rehash this, but that's my understanding.
So you're volunteering that it would be a one lot split?
Right. That tract would end up in two lots.
Right, yeah. Okay.
Very good. So that satisfies area plan, and we're good to go. Okay.
Matt, a couple of questions I've got for you. So, I mean, the difference between this going residential and Ag 2, was there any thought put into that?
There was. Ag 2 has always been one of those that has waned over the years. Looking at the residential to the northeast or northwest there, seeing if it's going to go, I think residential was a better fit for it. That was the rationale there. I think it could have went either way, but residential made more sense just in this instance. So.
And then this property, I mean, I can tell by the creek or wetlands that are there, I mean, it is a buildable site that, I mean, we're not creating a subdivided lot that's buildable, that a septic system is.
It appears so. They'll still have to work through the health department, find a good location, soil samples, whatnot. If the lot's large enough, even at that point, I would assume they can, working with Bob and Neil, find a good location for a septic. And of course, the other unknown is how big a house they may want. So there's a lot of factors, but yeah, it's a pretty good sized tract ground.
Then I guess my last question is just, I know when we approve some of these zonings out in the county, there's a kind of about a waiver or a notification of you know, this isn't an
Yep.
ag district, you know, manure could be spread right next to this
Definitely.
property. I mean, those types of things, that would still apply even if this going to residential?
Yeah, so when they come in with their preliminary plat, they will be required, because it is bordered by ag, to put that right on the face of the plat, that the ag disclaimer that we have.
Okay,
So,
okay.
Okay, thank you.
We talked to Matt about going ag 2 or residential. We would be fine with either one, but we went with residential because we thought that's what the plan staff wanted us to do.
Okay.
Okay, super. Thank you for your input. Anyone else here to speak to this? Hearing none, we'll close the meeting to the public. What's your pleasure, gentlemen?
I would make a motion that we accept the recommendation of area plan, with what, Jack has offered up on behalf of his client, that it could not be split in more than 2 tracts.
Okay,
Carrie Groninger, I'd second that.
okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Carrie Groninger?
Brad Jackson, aye.
Bob Conley, aye. Very good, thank you. What's next?
last but not least, one final rezoning for you. And this is for Noel. And this is a rezoning request to rezone a 2.5 acre parcel from residential to Ag 2. And here, we're just a little bit further to the north and east of where we just were with Jessup, on a 1100 north there. You'll see the zoning category. There's Ag 2 to the east, Ag 2 to the west, Ag to the north and south. This piece, for whatever reason, was originally zoned residential. What they are looking at doing now is they want to rezone this to Ag 2 for consistency across there. Ultimately, at the hearing, they had indicated they want to have livestock of some sort. So Ag 2 is a better fit in this case, Carrie, because of the compatibility adjacent to it. And this is sent to you with a favorable recommendation to rezone.
Very good. Anyone here to speak in favor of this? Step forward and give us your name, please.
Hi, I'm Christine Knoll. So we have two different things we wanted to do. We wanted to make it all one. We had both properties. We wanted to make it all one, and we want to put an outbuilding closer to the line. So can I come up and show you kind of where
Sure.
we want to do it? So we want to put, the outbuilding kind of right here closer. We were originally going to have to put it back here when it was residential, plus we'd have to put living quarters in the outbuilding since it's residential. We were trying to avoid that.
Oh,
So where do you,
My son doesn't want to live with us forever.
where do you live at currently?
So we are, right, here's our house.
Okay.
20, is that right?
that's good.
No, here, this is the, here we are. And
Okay.
This is one that we're doing, sorry. I'm losing
Okay.
my lines. So we want to put it closer to kind of
Okay.
out here versus out here, more in the middle. And we didn't want to put living quarters in it.
Okay.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay,
Is that good?
thank
Okay.
you. Is anyone here to speak in opposition to? Hearing none, we'll close the meeting. Public?
This is Carrie Groninger. I make a motion to approve the recommendation of the area plan.
I would second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Carrie Groninger, aye.
Brad Jackson, aye.
Bob Conley, aye. Very good.
That is all we have for you. Thank you.
Okay, very good. And this will all go before the commissioners on, it's a done deal though, isn't it?
It is done.
It's done. Okay, very good. That's today. Okay, what's next? County attorney, any department head having business with the commissioners today? Bob?
I apologize. I was going through my paperwork and I realized that when you had asked me the difference in the two differences I got for vehicles, I gave you the rough amount, but it's not the exact. Can I change that to
Yes, you may.
The 21 is 21,838.
Okay.
And the other was 15,340.
I'll make a motion to amend my original motion, which was 15,000 to the 15,340.
Second.
Been moved and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Carrie Gronier, aye.
Brad Jackson, aye.
Bob Conley, aye. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay. County Attorney Ed Ormsby.
We have a couple of matters. First matter is an ordinance regarding charges for certain information from the Kosciuszko County Clerk's Office. I'll read the pertinent parts of that ordinance for submission to the commissioners. Whereas the county clerk's office retains in computer records certain information, including the list of voters, voter history, and other information, which is information available to the public under Indiana law. Two, that information is generated by computer, and the office of the county clerk is entitled to impose a charge for duplicating those records. Three, the county does not have in effect an ordinance providing for the charges to reproduce election records which are in computer format. Four, upon the request of the county clerk, the board desires to update certain fees charged by the county clerk as set forth below. Now, therefore, the following is hereby ordained by the board. One, the county clerk shall charge the following amounts for certain election and voter information held by the clerk. One, voter reports available to the public on USB thumb drive, $15. Two, printout of voter reports available to the public, 2 cents per voter. Three, election results print out, 5 cents per page. Two, all funds collected by the clerk under this ordinance shall be deposited in the general fund of the county pursuant to the procedures established by the State Board of Accounts or other applicable law. That ordinance is submitted for consideration by the commissioners.
Okay, thank you, Ed.
I mean, I think that those rates sound fair. I mean, I know that those are costs that we have to incur when we do those types of activities. So just trying to recoup our costs that we have in those. So I make a motion to approve this ordinance. Carrie Gronier.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Carrie Gronier, aye.
Brad Jackson, aye.
Bob Conley, aye. Do you have anything further, Ed?
Yeah, we have a bit of cleanup from the last meeting. At the last commissioners meeting, we had an agreement for services that was approved with Stillwater Hospice. Stillwater Hospice took over Kosciuszko Home Health Care and Hospice, which we had an agreement with them for the calendar year of 2023. Stillwater came and asked that we have an agreement with them now for 2023 because of that takeover that they have with Kosciuszko Home Health. We approved that agreement effective as of that date, and then effective as of March 14, but dated March 1. But the agreement did not terminate the previous agreement with Kosciuszko Home Health Care. And so we need a motion from the commissioners to terminate the Kosciuszko Home Health Care and Hospice Agreement for Services for calendar year 2023.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd make a motion for that we would terminate the contract with Kosciuszko County Community Hospice Care for 2023 because we've already transferred that to the new Stillwater.
Okay.
So,
And Carrie, if I could add, and that termination would be effective as of the date of approval for the Stillwater Hospice Agreement.
okay. So that would be approval from our last meeting, correct?
Okay, very good.
Correct.
Anything further, Ed?
That's it.
Okay.
I would second Carrie's motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Carrie Gronier, aye.
Brad Jackson, aye.
Bob Conley, aye. Okay, thanks, Ed. Is that all you have?
That's all I have, Bob.
Very good. Thank you. Where's Marcia?
She didn't have anything. She had a 10 o'clock.
Okay. Marcia had an appointment she had to get to, and she didn't have report for us today. County Auditor Rhonda Helser.
Yes, I come before you today to reestablish the cumulative capital development fund and the cumulative bridge fund for 2024.
Okay. I entertain a motion on the cumulative capital development ordinance.
And Rhonda, this is something we do every year, just to
Yes,
gets that rounded
yes,
back
yeah.
up to the full amount that we're able to collect. We're not raising anything
No, we're
from
not
what we
raising,
currently
it's
are.
staying
It's
that
just
the
bringing it back.
cum capital fund is staying the same, .0333, and the bridge fund is staying at .10.
I make a motion to approve both these accumulative funds.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Kerry Groener, aye.
Brad Jackson, aye.
Bob Conley, aye. Is
Thank
that all
you.
you have today, Rhonda? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda.
County Highways, Steve Moriarty, no report today. No snow and ice on the roads, and it's bright and sunny out, right? Good job. Emergency Management, Ed Rock. Rockmeister.
Yeah, I just had him put me in because I'm tired of Stephen always being last.
You were tired of that, were you?
Yeah, getting
Well, you're
tired of it.
retired now, so as soon as you do this, you can leave.
That's right.
But you're always welcome back at any time.
Thanks.
Betcha.
First, I would like to say thank you to all of the commissioners as well as all county employees, both past and present, for all of the guidance and direction and support that I've had over the last 7,309 days.
Not that you're counting, right?
Not that I am counting. If you want that in minutes and seconds, I can give that to you too.
Starting your count on retirement days and hours, minutes too. That's good.
It might be on here. This has been a learning experience from day one. It has allowed and even pushed me to grow as an individual, develop relationships, connections, and friendships that I couldn't even conceive of back in 2003. This position has impacted my future in a positive way, and so again, I say thank you. Now, having said that, I will be leaving the office effective 4:30 p.m. on Thursday, the 30th of March. And it is my recommendation that today the commissioners appoint Kip Shooter as the Emergency Management Director of Kosciuszko County effective 4:30 p.m. on March 30th of 2023 to ensure that the county maintains the coverage of the position and to ensure that all plans such as the Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan and the Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan continue to hold their validity through the process of this transfer of personnel.
You'll make me cry, Ed. Entertain a motion?
Yeah, well, first of all, Ed, thank you for your years of service to the county. It's been a pleasure working with you the years that I've been on the commissioner board. So we really do appreciate you and just, how you held your head high and continued with your work all the way to the very end here. So we appreciate that. And, I think we've found a good replacement for you and Kip and look forward to working with him. But appreciate even this last little bit of making sure we're safe to the very minute of when the transfer happens. So I'd make a motion that we approve the transfer of the EMA to Kip Shooter at that 4:30 p.m. on 3:30 of this month.
Okay.
I would second that motion, and also, Ed, I thank you for all your years of service. Time flies by. It seems like just yesterday that we were bringing you on board and having all the discussions and basically establishing that department. So
Yeah, I think that's about the time.
it's been a few years.
Yours and mine about the same time. I would echo their sentiments. I know your volunteerism on the fire department, Mentone, and your work in the community has been exemplary. And I just really feel that we've got a person that's coming on board that you've helped us to interview and hire is of the same character and caliber that you are. And I don't know what else to say, but thank you. Appreciate everything you've done.
Godspeed to you in your retirement. Have fun and relax, enjoy yourself. And I'd entertain the, call the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Kerry Grunier, aye?
Brad Jackson, aye.
Bob Conley, aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank
And
you.
we are having a little cake and ice cream, I think, on the 30th.
I know nothing about this.
That's just,
Okay, thank you.
I think that was a surprise, Ed. I'm not real.
You just spilled the beans there, Kerry.
There you go. That's fine.
be
Any
the first one.
further business come before the commissioners? If not, we'll see you back here in 2 weeks on April 11th. And you're welcome to visit. Ed?
Okay.